Man lama endorse baro.
They don't the program directly. They don't blow like Kalmanta.
Wow. I'm online now. I'm online, guys.
Okay, let's go.
We'll talk later.
Stop panic. Gata
Man, let me call. You ain't going
I'm sorry,
nowhere.
when we get to the calls, to hear.
I need a speaker for the audience.
I'm not getting yeah.
You like the ballet, you like promote. When I do this, I'm promoting you. No?
Good evening, listeners. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk here on West Coast Radio 92.1. As usual, the Straight Talk comes your way every Wednesday, talking about current affairs, talking about issues of national development, trying to chart a way forward for our country, proper solutions to the many challenges we face as a nation. We just talk straight, say it as it is. We speak truth to ourselves, speak truth to power, and in so doing, we hope that we will continue to have a civil national discussion on the way forward for our beloved country, the Gambia. As usual, the Straight Talk team is here. I am John Charles Njie, and in the studio with me is, as usual, Mr. Nyang Njie. Nyang, welcome again to Straight Talk.
Thank you, and good evening, listeners and people who are following us online.
Yes, indeed, to the many that follow online, to all of you that call, it's again a lovely evening. Today we have a special guest in the house, a dynamic young lady that has been in the struggle for a while. It's always good and inspirational to see and to also hear the stories of young people, even as far back as 2016, during the tough Jame days, the last days, how the young people contributed towards this change. And today we'll be hearing from one of such young people. She's here on holidays, but we will get more into the conversation. My good people in the studio, Mr. Njie, it seems Bombastic wants to run away.
Well, Bombastic was going to be our new... Yes.
But Mr. Njie, after I mean, obviously we are all Gambians and are concerned about what is happening in the country. Mr. Njie, you are you studied economics. I want to deal with an issue first before we look at other things. The president came out in an interview and said he instructed that this Chinese company pay some money into the foundation of his wife. There are many concerns about this First Lady, the office of the First Lady, the First Lady's foundations, because we see how it was used during the Jame days to pillage resources and the like. But for the chief servant, the president of the republic, to solicit funds from a private company that today has a contract in millions of dollars from NAWEC, for him to solicit funds for an official government trip. How funny is that? Two, is it even right for the president to have funds that are meant for national use into a private account? Maybe let's look at these two and then we will move on with the conversation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Njie. You've asked a pertinent question. This pertinent question begs an answer, but the answer needs a premise. And the premise is the 2014 Public Finance Act.
Okay.
The Public Finance Act clearly stipulates how the government of the Gambia is going to raise money and spend money. Who is authorized to handle cash and to what extent and amount. For instance, the Public Finance Act clearly stipulates that the Accountant General is the only individual allowed to handle cash.
Yeah.
The government of the Gambia must lodge all its proceeds into the Consolidated Revenue Fund.
Okay.
Once monies go in there, it can now be spent based on the budget that has been approved by Parliament.
Yeah.
So if government could not have funded that trip, and they want other means to fund it, they could have gone to the Parliament. I'm telling you tools that are readily available to the state.
Yeah.
They could have gone to the Parliament. Treasury bills could have been raised and fund the trip.
Okay.
There are three fundamental problems here. It's called the cozy relationship between the powers that be and TBEA.
Okay.
What do I mean by a cozy relationship? TBEA don't love Gambia that much that they want to be an NGO to just pay on our behalf any sums
Maybe
of
you
money.
have to. What is the TBEA?
TBEA is a Chinese company
Good.
that is into the manufacturing of transformers and also the building of electrical networks.
Okay.
There
That's
was
a private company.
Private company. There was a $33 million funded by the World Bank to do some rehabilitation and expansion of our network owned by Nawe.
Yeah.
So it was unethical for the government, knowing that TBA is in the Gambia soliciting for business, to take funds from them. We don't need law, we need morality on that particular point.
Okay.
Therefore, if TBA has anything to offer Gambia, they can go and give it out to an SOS, they can give it out to an orphanage, they can give it out to a mosque, to a church, but the government of the Gambia is a principal, and a principal should not take money, and that's why our procurement processes have been flawed. And I will go further. I will go further. When the bids were opened, TBEA were the third most responsive in terms of price. There were others cheaper than them, but in excess of $11 million.
Wow.
And yet still TBEA won the contract.
So
1 + 1 is 2. We don't need Stevie Wonder, who is blind, to tell us that that was wrong, should not have happened, and must not be condoned.
Okay. Well, Absa, you are a youth, you are part of the young people that were pushing for a coalition, putting pressure on political parties to form a coalition to flush out Jammeh. Today you study in the US, you are here on holidays, and now you're hearing the head of state say that he authorized a private company to put money into the wife's foundation, and the money was withdrawn to fund a government foreign trip. As a young person, as a lay person, how does that sound? And what does that say to you?
Hello everyone, my name is Absa Samba. Thank you for having me tonight. I think that is unacceptable. I think when young people demanded for a coalition to be formed in 2016 and turned out and voted for a coalition government, we wanted a new Gambia, we wanted a different Gambia than the one that we had grown up in. And to hear, I mean, usually it is that spouse of presidents form foundations as a way of complementing the efforts of the executive or their partners in improving the lives of the people that they serve. In our case, it seems to be a tool for corruption and for exploitation. I think Nyang Njie said it best. We cannot have a government accepting money from private organizations, whether in or outside of the country. The reality is, I mean, what that makes me think is, what interest does that private company have to form a government with? And of course, there has to be something. Why would a private company give $35 million to a president? And why, if it were done in good faith, why would it be deposited in the account of a private foundation for a government activity? Honestly, the reality is it's all kind of wrong and illegal, and you don't have to know the law, you don't have to know anything
common
to know
sense.
that's unacceptable.
Common sense doesn't seem to be common in this.
It doesn't add up at all.
And to make matters worse, this company now has a contract, was the third responsive and in the bidding process, and now has a contract. So whether the process was transparent enough, whether there is enough accountability, leaves a lot, many unanswered questions. But Mr. Njie, let's look at what can the country do in this case. We have a National Assembly that is supposed to be the third arm of government to hold the executive in check. What can we do? What pressure can we put so that there is accountability in this process?
Before I go to what the government can do, we need to dissect the statements made by the president. He said his Secretary General came in and told him, I have a solution. There should have been a duty of care from the president before endorsing that solution to find out whether that solution was in conformity with the law, because the buck stops with him, number one. Number two, he has also exposed the incompetence and the weakness of this government. How can a government plan a trip and based on his own words, the money had to be lodged there because they had less than 24 hours to make the payment? Then it meant this government never planned that trip, because 24 hours you didn't even have a plane. So basically this was a last minute ditch effort. That is poor planning by administrators. And that's why the first thing Gambians called for was a comprehensive civil service reform to make sure that this civil service become lean, mean, efficient, and fit for purpose for the public and the Gambian. Now to your question, what can we do? We can do a whole lot. The president and his appointed officials can do whatever they want. But whatever they're doing has to be within the remit of our laws. If they have violated laws, it's up to the country to deal with it. If this was in any other country, the opposition should have made a noise that the president must be called into the assembly, not the vice president to come on his behalf, must be called in, because this is a personal infraction. The vice president can come and talk on behalf of him with regards to policy. This is his personal involvement, and
he instructed, he said.
He need to face Gambians and tell us why on earth did he allow private funds to fund an independent country? Not a donor. This was not a benevolent donor. This was a quid pro quo donor. A donor that gave hoping in return to get something. And $33 million is the contract awarded to TBEA a year later or several
years later.
No, not several, a year or 2 years later. But notwithstanding, I think the parliament now has a role to play on behalf of the citizens. The citizen, all of us cannot go and sit at the parliament. That's why we have chosen representatives. And it's now the responsibility of those representatives to do a duty of care to you, me, and everyone who put them there, to make sure that the president and whoever has been involved in this not to go out. That's number one. Number two, if his presidency finishes because he has immunity, I'm sure he is going to answer questions, and these questions may lead to something that will be detrimental.
You know the quote, whatever you sow, you reap.
Absolutely.
He has sown a commission against Jammeh. Somebody would also sow something to investigate it. You want to say something?
I wanted to say, Mr. Njie, you have a lot of optimism, faith in the National Assembly. I don't think that I have as much faith. And I would love to be proven wrong. You know, I want to see them take the action. I want to be proven wrong. But I do not have faith in them, only because if the president has the audacity to come publicly and make such a statement that I have directed this organization to put money in my wife's foundation. And the audacity to come publicly and make such a statement, he has to be certain that nothing
can come out of it.
And nobody is going to hold him accountable. And I want to be proven wrong.
Well, you love to see the National Assembly do otherwise.
There are three fundamental things going on here. The president is a president who doesn't understand the word ramification.
Okay.
And I will tell you why.
Yeah.
In less than 14 days, he has made three fundamental, severe, major blunders as it relates to pronouncement. He publicly admitted in a broadcast that he participated in unearthing human remains where they were buried to put fetish stuff in there. That is called desecration. That in itself is a crime. The second one is the China fab issue. It has some criminal element. The third one is looking at Gambians in the face and saying, come 4th December.
Okay.
I'm going to...
I'm coming there.
No, I want to finish this, then you come in. I'm going to ban political activity by instructing
the IGP.
What you don't own, you don't command.
Okay.
The president don't own Gambians. Gambians have inalienable rights given to us by virtue of our constitution. Freedom of expression and assembly are sacrosanct to who we are as a people. Okay. So he needs to apologize to Gambians that maybe I didn't understand the limit of my powers, but I never wanted to encroach on what's yours.
But again, Mr. Njie, looking at Absa's point that you get up and say things, it's because there are no ramifications. Because if you had a National Assembly that was very proactive and was taking the executive to task ever so often, then possibly the executive would be cautious as to what they say. But let's get to the issue. And for me, I'm very concerned. In fact, I was angry when I heard this statement.
Not concerned.
No, wait. Let me learn. I'm very concerned and I'm angry. The reason I'm angry is because I think it is audacious and outright disrespectful for anybody in this dispensation to now start bringing dictatorial tendencies. Gambians, we have gotten to a point that we don't want to see anything that resembles what we are coming from. So for somebody that unexpectedly got to the position of head of state, leader of the country, to now be insinuating in a way of curtailing freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, I think it is wrong. Definitely the president should apologize to the people, and rather than us having the releases we have now. But beyond banning political parties beyond December 4th, my take is, number one, Mr. President, you have to get to that bridge to cross it. There is no guarantee that you will win December 4th. To even assume, I think it's an insult to us that we are granting you that. But one, it is you have to cross that. Number two, to say you will ban political activity when you are one of the greatest campaigners of our time, and your campaign has no limit. Then again, to now infringe on the rights of political parties to assemble, to have whatever it is, campaigns or whatever you call them, I think it is sad.
Olof Njie Mune, so xamul fi nga jaar ba ñëw di nga beetu ci ni ngay génnee mooy lan. This president was bankrolled by the blood, the sweat, the tears and the resources of Gambians in and outside of this country to make sure he realized his aspiration, which we thought would have been the springboard for our collective good. I will then again say, Mr. President, liñ moom mënuloo koo jël. You said you are worried.
Concerned.
You are concerned.
I'm angry.
I am angry that he was audacious enough to make such utterances.
Yeah.
But I'm not concerned because I have guarantees as a citizen. And I dare not only the president, the IGP or any Gambian to want to curtail those rights. It will be the riot act. And not only for me, but for many Gambians, because we will never go back to from whence we came.
My response was that we are ready to put blood, sweat, and tears to ensure that our freedoms are not curtailed. I mean, I think that will be pushing the Gambia to the worst of limits. You, Absa, are outside of Gambia. We know, I mean, as I said earlier, you are one of the people, the young people that was pushing through social media to bring change. For a leader that has acknowledged that he came to power by the change and the impact of social media by diaspora and Gambians, and now it's like the diaspora and Gambians, social media is almost like, what is it about these leaders that the thing that removed your predecessor, you want to fight it? Why don't you think that it can also remove you? Maybe the influence of social media, the influence of the young people, your connections, and how this can be an affront to all that.
I think if anybody who is doing the best they can to improve this society and the people that they're elected to serve will not be afraid of what people have to say about them. I think the decision or the idea to bring in a law to control how people express themselves, especially towards public officials that they themselves have elected to serve their interests, it has to mean something. It has to mean that they are not doing what they've been elected to do. Yeah. Because if you're doing that, then you don't have to be scared what people have to say, and you don't have to be worried, and you have your conscience to guide you. In our case, I think that the reality is so many people, I mean, the current government, actually, the executive that we have, is not doing what it's supposed to do. And instead of focusing its energy in improving the lives and the livelihoods of Gambians in this country, they're concerned about people holding them to account.
And they're fighting the people.
Speaking up about these issues. If we should have a law, it should perhaps be to control what Barrow gets to say. Because, I mean, so far it's been, it's been offensive, it's been embarrassing to all of us.
Yes.
I mean, we claim to be a society that values people, that values one another, that values the dead. That's how much respect we have for our people.
And we value elders.
And if you could come on national TV and tell us that you have unburied dead bodies I mean, it tells you about, I mean, it's embarrassing.
That's the lowest low.
Exactly.
Don't
right.
Keyboard hatch. Keyboard booking hatch bowler, number one. Nyare. Olaf Njie, Mune. Those who live under the tree, those who live under the tree may not mind the leaves.
Yeah.
Private citizen Adam Barrow, I have no business with. No disrespect, but it has no consequential effect to my life.
Yeah.
Yeah? But public citizen Adam Barrow, Makomo Betanyonge, you know why? He opted to serve.
Yeah.
If you serving, you are a servant, and a servant has masters. We the people reign supreme. Suñ waaw moko fa tek suñ kaddu ak suñ buga buga ci lolu la mëna dox. Mun na ko suñ waay la. Munut ko nak ñu jonku wante te jonku wante bi nak suñ constitution bi daf ñu may ñu wax suñ xalaat, wax suñ gis-gis, wax suñ buga buga. Suñ buga buga bobu nak kenn mënut ko dog, kenn mënut ko wañi. Ken mënut koo jël du IGP du NIA du Adama Barrow du Macky Sall du Barack Obama du Joe Biden. Gambian si ñoo ko moom comme ni ko Halifa Sallah di waxee. Gambia is a sovereign republic owned by the people of the republic.
Indeed.
Therefore, ku fi toog ci wawi Gambian nga muna dohe.
Yeah.
Mota, we have people who govern us, we don't have rulers. Adama Barrow du fi bour, te du bumi, te du neka ku ñoo dogalal ñun ñoo ko wax liñ bëgg mu def ko ak keneen na ku mun di doon.
Indeed, interesting times in Gambia when leaders think they could say anything and get away with it. I recall the time our former president talked about negotiating with the Guineas. And you know, I mean, these kinds of embarrassing statements, I thought we had gotten over this as a nation. And you know, it's disheartening when you go to a country and they said, have you heard what your president said? He said, I mean, on burying a dead corpse. I don't know whose dead corpse, but that's sad. And that also says a lot about us as a people, and also says a lot about our chief servant and the head of state. Now, looking at the realities we face, looking at the coming elections, Mr. Njie, you said over and over, we have our red card, or whatever we call the card, whatever color it is, for us to show that either we accept or we reject this kind of behavior. How can we, the people, begin to be more organized? Last week we were talking about whether our country is really moving forward or not, and when these things happen, I said I now agree with Nyang that maybe we are taking one step forward and 5 steps backwards, because now even thinking of having a law to curtail speech or to curtail social media activity. Where are we going?
What he could down to Saredla.
I keep asking myself, is this are these the last kicks of a dying horse? It's like, you know, whether it's rapper or something like that you just do anything and say anything, and you're just burying yourself deeper.
Olof Njie ne ku rapper ci xare lo junju xeet ko. Lima am pour wax. Non, lima am pour wax. Suma xol dafa diis te dafa fees. I am tired of advocating and advocacy because I have a life to live.
Yeah.
I have grown more gray hairs this past 3 years than I have ever had. I have had
all for a good
I have had significant economic cost and opportunity because there are people in this government who don't want to give me what I deserve. I'm talking about as a consultant.
Yeah, I know.
To the point, I know ministers who have gone to international organizations to stop me from doing things that I do for my benefit.
So sad.
All for the sake of country. We are tired, John. I don't want to be here every Wednesday talking about what's wrong.
Right.
I want to be here talking about where to have fun in the Gambia and go to beaches, etc.
Exactly.
What we need right now is for the Gambians to wake up. When I say wake up, I mean it. Ñu eewu. Lan mooy ñu eewu. Lii xew ci dëkk bi mu ngi tudda segal ma war la. Waa Banjul ñu ngi kontaan ne ñu ngi leen a liggéeyal ay tali waaye liñ war a laajte ci ban njëkk. ñu ne ñu ñoo liggéeyal tali ñoomi xakala ñu laajte waat ci ban njëkk. li gën a métti mooy nga am xel yàlla may la ko nga war koo jël di ko xalaatee nga nangu nga sega sa moromi doomi aadama di la war. lii moo xew te dafa métti te moo tax yow man ak ñu bari ñu mel ni man ay maa di jobaate ñuy continuer di wax waaye tamit ñi tax ñuy wax dañ war a gis ne ñooñu nag léegi ñun leen jël def ñuy noonu.
waaw
instead of ñu gis ne ñun seen jaam yaram ak seen ëllëgi njaboot moom lañ bugga ndigte si gaal gi ñu nekka su John Charles amee good life Absa am good life Nyang Njie am good life te yow amuloo good life kon ñun suñu good life amul njëriñ te sàccakat yi dinañu sàcca si feebar yi dinañu dab kon nag ñun ñëpp dañ am a moral responsibility to lift each other up ñu demandoor gaal bi du suux.
Okay. Well, Absa, we are going to open the lines and get some contributions from listeners out. But just your thoughts on how you see Gambia coming home, and you know, just the challenges. You know, are you hopeful?
It depends on the day. When people came out in 2016 and said, "We're going to get rid of this guy," and we got rid of Jammeh, no matter how hard it was. And I think the same will happen. I think when people don't feel like their interest is being served, they're going to get up and they're going to do what they need to do to get better. It was sad for me to hear what Nyang Njie has to say about a country and a government that is stopping opportunities for its citizens. What does that say about that government? If you will go out of your way to stop the progress of the citizens you are supposed to invest in and improve.
And empower.
Yeah, sad.
It's a very sad nation to be in, I have to say. And the reality is, the reason why Nyang Njie and the are speaking up. I think in any society that wants progress, any government that wants development should be appreciative of that. Nyang Njie and the Madi Jabaris who are speaking should be acknowledged and recognized and awarded for doing that, because they're helping the government and this country be better.
Actually, the Nyang Njies don't want a reward or recognition. All we want is for the citizens of this country to understand that we all have a collective vested interest to put our public servants on the straight and narrow.
And the reason I am saying that is because what you are doing is out of love for country and out of care for the progress of this society. And it's important that to have a government that sees you as doing otherwise.
As an enemy.
It speaks to who they are out to serve.
Yeah. Wow. But for me, it's a duty. You see, I am a citizen of the Gambia. The Gambia has given me so much. That's why Adama Barrow cannot curtail my right of expression.
And I agree 100%.
Since Gambia gave me that right to express my will the best way I see fit, I equally owe it to Gambia to make sure Gambia stands tall and proud.
And I agree. We all have an obligation to serve this country and to serve our people. And which is why we put this government in place. If the government is going out of its way to stop citizens who are doing just this, what does that say about that government? And I leave that to Gambians to decide. There are many things. I think that this government has very little to show. If anything, I have seen Adama Barrow's life improve. I mean, he built a mansion in Makamakunda, and government officials seem to be living a good life.
And the people
I don't think that reality reflects on the lives of the average Gambian. I mean, there's so many deaths in this country recently, and it's scary. And there is very little accountability and responsibility on the part of the government for those things. I mean, we talk about roads that are getting built. In Jambanjeli, I mean, perhaps it has the best road in the country right now, the one that connects from Sukuta down. But the reality is, how is that progress if the road that is built above the homes that are around it are floating? How is that progress? How is that road development if the people who didn't used to have their houses float before now have a new road and their homes are floating? How is that progress? I mean, I don't know what else to brag about. I'm disappointed as a Gambian. I'm very disappointed in this government, and I hope that Gambians who feel the same way will come out in December and express that with their votes.
All right, Gambians hoping they will do that. But just to say, I don't think, and I believe Gambians don't hate their government. I think Gambians are just upset that their government is not being responsive to their needs and is not listening to them. Rather, it's fighting them. Let's take this call. Good evening, caller, and welcome to Straight Talk. Good evening, caller. Hello. Hello, good evening, caller.
The call must have dropped.
No, it's showing that it's on. Okay, maybe we lost.
Yeah, we lost the caller.
Okay, we will get on. We will continue with the conversation until we have another call come in. But again, as I was saying, I don't think Nyang Njie, Madi, and all these people say what they say is because they hate government. But it's what they see that they detest. Is the actions that a group of people seem to be having their lives bettered, where the masses are not okay. Well, let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, you just said it, man. You said you have some pertinent questions for Nyang Njie. And I think that he's giving you some pertinent answers. answers as well.
Yeah.
Man, Gambia in Senegal. Gis nga Martin Nyang Njie. Khalifa Sala. This Essa Fall. Ñi lañu war a am naka di taxaw ko tigay te nag Gambia yi xam ne Gambia ñoo ko moom. Ñu ma gisee boro bu toogee rek RFI yow ma radio France 24 ñu ko interview. Ñoo la ci ne ko ñu yoy by accident. But you also happy with that. No. And then boro sama it was 2 years. Then you know 5 years in Nyang Njie. You got 10 to 15 years. And I agree, man. I don't know what to say.
Okay.
Senegal TV channel for station for interview. They want to that. After 3 years, the park give up the seat. Why is it the good why they give that the person in Senegal? When the park then I work with Malcolm X, sorry, mine is the king of on. Through peace. It's not only the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. Absolutely. Justice can always prevail.
Thank you.
This anti-corruption bill, then go on and talk. That's the guy like go. But all about the training, but all about you, we make a new foolish. Somebody can be the one I concrete, but that's the man guy. Don't take about for one, because they can do it again.
All right, true. Well, let me also qualify something. The government has done its bit with the anti-corruption bill. It's the National Assembly that has majority opposition that has not passed it. Let's be clear on that, huh?
Well, I think you also need to clear your point, the executive, because the National
Assembly has passed it.
Is part of government.
The executive has passed it to the National Assembly, and it is still with the National Assembly. Let's get that clear. All right. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Anyway, I just asked a point to clear out.
Yes.
Like, what are we being advised as far as the president is concerned?
What?
Why are we paying for advice?
He needs to know what he talks, then he goes out to talk. And the advisors also need to advise the president as to what he thinks. Like, he should consult the advisors, ask them, or get them the content of his speech, or to talk to him. And then at least know the budget and what he should be supposed to say. Because all these things are products, and then the advice, what is the they are having advice to they have a step out. They are too much. And these the players are paying for that. So the question is, I think those advisors also need to look into themselves and know that they are responsible for all the mistakes that the president is doing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, caller. But whether the president consults with the advisors before he makes such statements, yes.
Kinga Fei Yakomo.
Exactly.
Genuine advice. You don't pay. You appoint people, and they come and advise you. Whether you pay them or not, they will tell you the truth because they don't have a vested economic outcome. But so long as these people are getting paid, what they collect is more important to them than good counsel.
But again, what the caller has said, it makes sense because even if they are being paid, but if the president has all these unforced errors and still has all these people around him, he should really look back and ask himself, are these people doing good to me or they are just here?
Also, in other countries, advisors are people who have expertise in specializations. So you bring people based on their expertise to advise you on issues relating to how you manage the affairs of a country. What are the qualifications of the advisors to the president?
It's a reward system.
Exactly. So
let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yeah. Right. Sa line bi mu ngi break bi déggul la bu baax. Waaw. Waaw ñang waaw. Okay, Jerry. Well, Absa said it's right. The Gambian people will have to decide on the officials we have, whether they are truthful or not, whether they are honest or not. It's our decision, Gambia. We'll take this call. Good evening, caller, and welcome to Straight Talk. Jamare. Jerry. Bul febar way. Okay,
jërëjëf.
Well, Gambians bu leen nangoo nekk sareti mbaam te bu leen nangoo nekk mbaam tam pour ñu war leen. We have another call. Okay. But again, these are just maybe the frustrations of maybe a cross section of the
Yeah, but just as earlier you alluded that we dislike the government.
No. I said you did. People don't. They don't hate the government. They don't dislike the government. It's what the government does. It's what the government condones.
We are
Those
the
are
government.
things that detest.
We are the government and we constitute government. What I own, I cannot despise. I have to make it better.
Yeah.
And that's why we refuse to keep our mouth shut and we refuse to put our hand in the cookie jar and tell them, don't dip yours in.
I made a promise to myself after the Jammeh days that I will never be silent. I will never be taken back to dictatorship no matter what it costs me. So we will keep speaking. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Malaikum salam.
Okay.
Jërëjëf.
Okay.
Jërëjëf.
All right, Jerry.
Jërëjëf.
Well, I mean, yeah, indeed, what we are doing, I mean, it's for our children, it's for posterity, and it's for our nation. We owe it to our country, so no matter what it costs us, we will continue.
Well, for me, I'm doing it for myself, because it's a duty that I owe to country.
Good. Okay. Let's have this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Hello.
Yes. Jamare.
I'm a man who don't get the program. I'm the most disappointed guy in this country. Don't worry about me.
Wow.
Because 90 last
Metti na ci xol.
Kamu Musa helaf dulu, kita Musa mulia, kita wali beli we am. Dulu ini very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
I mean, Jerry. Well, but if anybody feels that you could do this and get away with it, are you not just deceiving yourself?
Why did it tamit am dina la ko olof tuuti man foog naa ne président bi tamit dafa am problème bi mu am dafa nangu ay nit sàkket ko ñi ko sàkket mooy fence dañ tax ba ñun Gambie real everyday Gambien bi ñoo dunda ak lim gis ak dégga du benn dicté dam bari jaxanda président bi daf day gënta ndax fi ma dëkka la dëkka su taxawee ne président Jamani daf ko ne your capital is beautiful mu ne bi président yi Jamani bi di ñëw Gambia di dugga si State House daf ko ne your capital is beautiful non su fekkee ne sax ne tali yi concrete nañ ko war nañoo xam ne Banjul as a 21st century capital has what you call derelict infrastructure. Forget about the concrete roads. So, Mr. President, nañ bàyyi naxaate bi ñu ne nañ liggéey gis nga suñuy liggéey kenn du la sika waaye Gambien bi du dof pour nga foog ñu dof moo tax ma ne la ségal ma war la doomi Gambie warul ko nangu du yow du keneen anybody waruñoo nangu ñuy ségal ñu ñoo war.
Indeed. Absa?
What I wanted to add on is what the caller said about the statements that are being made. And the unfortunate reality is we see a pattern that's very much familiar to Gambians. The president made a statement that's outrageous and unacceptable and immoral, to say the least. And people call him out for it, and he threatens to put a law to stop those people from it. That's a pattern that's very familiar with Gambians from the Jammeh days, and we will not let that happen again.
Definitely not.
And it's more than just the words. I think that the words are not okay. It's also the actions. What are we seeing in this country? Can average Gambian be afforded to master? And fish is a staple in this country. We are a blessed nation with our waters, and yet those waters are exploited at the expense of Gambians. Not only are Gambians unable to afford a livelihood in this country in terms of even getting daily meals in this country, is the people in these coastal regions are suffering every single day.
Absolutely.
And this government is acting like it doesn't exist and it doesn't matter.
But you know, I think common sense should tell everybody that when you push the people to the wall, they will react one way or the other. Jammeh pushed Gambians to the wall and he voted it out. Let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Good evening.
I don't think the caller is there.
Okay.
But you know, I think Mr. Jai.
Okay.
We have a caller?
Yeah. And no religious leader has come out to condemn that statement.
Well, you need to understand one thing. A country where the leaders munuñ sen bopa, momuñ sen bopa, gaduñ sen bopa, gomuñ sen bopa, li xew rek moy li fi xew. Gis nga Yaya Jammeh dem na waaye lawoon tey la gën a dëgër.
Yeah.
Recently, there is an audio circulating about Dahaba with someone in Banjul trying to collude and make money off of people. Why should any political party want to leave such a person in their midst? You see, we have to start saying good behavior is what a good Gambian must condone, irrespective of family, politics, or any other affiliation.
All of the Magnan Tahuganan put it. So I think the political party should get rid of the politics in their midst rather than saying everybody is welcome. It also speaks of the character of political parties when people that are divisive, people that are crooks are in your ranks.
I mean,
I would not want to vote for that party.
I like to say that our government is a reflection of who we are as a people. I mean, if our government is corrupt and unethical, I think it is a reflection of us. How many people get in there and do the same thing, and they're getting replaced by Gambians, and we get the same pattern over and over and over. What does that say about us as a people? I don't have faith that if you go in there today, that you will do any better.
Who is you?
You, John Charles Guy, you, Nyang Njie. I don't have faith. I don't have faith because we see the same thing. You expect people who have morals and values and expertise will get into the system and the government and serve the interests of the people.
Absolutely.
But over and over, they're gonna all okay.
Suma maam ne ndox mi fam daan taa mu ngi faa taa ba tey am na nag ñoo xam ne duñ leen yëkkal si gaali xaj ñuy cee lekk xam nga lu tax du seen tur de Finjoge is a brand, and brand bobu. They know len ko jaral.
All right, I've just been told that we have 1 minute, guys. We are going to close here. I'm sorry to that call coming in. We don't have time, but we'll be back next week the same time here on West Coast Radio, talking about issues of national development, how we as a people can come together, build a better government, build a better nation. And let's keep talking and speaking truth to power. It doesn't matter who gets upset. Gambia is our Gambia all together. No one individual owns this country. We own it together, and we will continue to talk straight and speak truth to whoever and whatever. So until we come your way next week, have a lovely evening. God bless you and God bless the beautiful Republic of the Gambia.
Amen. Absa. There is no money worth it that will make me. Do dega. Tenara walusa do dega.